My people, this video when I want watch, so if the son Peter Obi talk this thing now, they for don't pull down the sky. They for don't say send DSS to run. They for don't say he won't commit anarchy. Arabambi and the lies for come they make noise also them. Meanwhile, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar talk this one, nothing shake. Now then they talk if you come for some certain part of Nigeria, if you talk and do anything and you can get away with it. For press conference when just after the Supreme Court judgment, see where in they talk, they call Bola Ahmed Tinubu names. No be small now, go watch him. He say na certificate forger, he commit identity theft, INEC do this, he do that. My people una go hear am for the video. But the one way I'm not saying lie you, the one way catch me pass be say he say he no ready to retire anytime soon. Say then he say he go pack up. No, say na nine just this time. Baba, that one nine catch me. Go sit down, retire, be godfather. Go dey train boys wey go come lead the country well. No be all this one way they do. The one we don't do so you don't try. When me watch the video, share the video, leave your comment, what you think. And thanks for watching.
As for me and my party, this phase of work is done. However, I'm not going to go away. If you think I'm going to go away, forget about it. Someone asked me, what would I do if I lost my election petition appeal at the Supreme Court? In response, I said that as long as Nigeria wins, the struggle would have been worth the while. By that, I meant that the bigger loss would not be mine, but Nigeria's, if the Supreme Court legitimizes illegality, including forgery, identity theft, and perjury as it has done. If the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, implies by its judgment that crime is good and should be rewarded, then Nigeria has lost, and the country is doomed irrespective of who occupies the presidential seat. If the Supreme Court decides that the electoral umpire, INEC, can tell the public one thing and then do something else in order to reach a corruptly predetermined outcome, then there is really no hope for the country's democracy and electoral process. Obviously, the consequences of those decisions for the country will not end at the expiration of the current government. They will last for decades. I am absolutely sure that history will vindicate me. We now know what the Supreme Court has decided. At critical points in my political life, I always ignored the easy but ignorable path in choosing the difficult but dignified path, the path of truth, of morality, of democracy, and the rule of law. I always chose freedom over servitude. Whatever the personal discomforts my choice entails. When I joined politics, the critical challenge was easing the military out of power so that civilian democratic governance could be restored in Nigeria. It later became a very defining struggle, and as one of the leaders of that struggle, I was targeted for elimination. In one incident, 9 policemen guarding my home in Kaduna were murdered in an attempt to assassinate me. I was also forced into exile for 9 months because of that incident. In addition, my interest in a logistics company that I co-owned was confiscated and given to friends of the military government. As vice president in the civilian government that succeeded the military, I, again, at great personal cost, chose to oppose the extension of the tenure of the government beyond the 2 4-year terms enshrined in our constitution. At the current historic moment, the easier option for me would have been to fall off and retreat after the mandate banditry perpetrated by the APC and INEC. But I went to the Nigerian courts to seek redress. I even went to an American court to help with unraveling what our state institutions charged with such responsibilities were unwilling or unable to do, including unraveling the qualifying academic records of the person sworn in as our president, and by implication, hopefully, who he really is. I offered that evidence, procured with the assistance of the American court, to our Supreme Court to help it do justice in this case. I give this background to underscore that what we are currently dealing with is bigger than 1 or 2 presidential elections, and is certainly bigger than Atiku Abubakar. It is not about me. It is about our country, Nigeria, and your future. It is about the kind of society we want to live for the next generation, and what kind of example we want to set for our children and their children. It is about the reputation of Nigeria and Nigerians in the eyes of the world. We showed incontrovertible evidence that Bola Tinubu was not qualified to contest the presidential election because he forged the qualifying academic certificate which he submitted to INEC. In fact, a simple check on Tinubu's past records in his possession would have shown INEC that Tinubu broke the law and should not have been allowed to contest the election in the first place. We showed irrefutable evidence of gross irregularities, violence, and manipulations during the elections. We showed incontrovertible evidence that INEC violated the Electoral Act and deliberately sabotaged its own publicly announced processes and procedures in order to illegally declare Tinubu elected. The position of the Supreme Court, even though final, leaves so much unanswered. Even the rebuke by retired Justice Musa Dattijo Mohammed is a confirmation from within the Apex Court that all is not well with the Supreme Court. The court, and indeed the judiciary, must never lend itself to politicization, as it is currently the norm with nearly every institution in Nigeria. By the way, the strong rebuke of the Apex Court by a revered justice who had meritoriously served for more than 4 decades should not be swept under the carpet. The alarm raised by Justice Mohammed and recently former INEC Chairman Professor Tahiru Jega offer Nigerians an explanation into why the electoral and judicial system have become the lost, not the last, but the lost hope of the common man. Judges are no longer appointed based on merit, but are products of the interplay of politics and nepotism. Worse still, the appointment of electoral officials has also been hijacked by the ruling party, as seen in the latest nomination of resident electoral commissioners, where card-carrying members of the ruling party and aides to politicians in the APC are being appointed into INEC. When two critical institutions like the court and the Electoral Commission are trapped in an evil web of political marginalization, it becomes next to impossible for democracy to thrive.